All right, today we're diving deep into something called applied human optimization. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. We're talking about a practical guide to completely dismantling the barriers that are holding you back so you can finally unlock what you're truly capable of. So let me ask you something, right off the bat. Are you really in the driver's seat when it comes to your own choices? I mean, most of us would probably say, yeah, of course. But the reality? It's a bit more complicated. There are these invisible forces, these mental shortcuts, guiding us all the time. And today, we're going to drag them out into the light.
Here's the game plan. First, we're going to expose the hidden traps lurking in our own minds. Then, we'll get into why building systems is so much more powerful than just setting goals. After that, we'll talk about how to trigger a real identity shift, look at the actual biology behind peak performance, and finally, wrap it all up by figuring out how to master our social worlds.
Okay, first up, let's pull back the curtain on these hidden traps inside our heads. You know, just understanding these invisible forces is the absolute first step if you want to become a clearer, more rational thinker. It all starts with awareness. Now, here's the thing. You can't just delete these biases. It's not like uninstalling an app. Our brains are literally hardwired for them. So the real superpower isn't trying to eliminate them. It's developing the skill of just noticing them as they happen. That awareness, that's what gives you back control. Let's take a classic example, the spotlight effect. You know that feeling, right? You're at a party, you spill a tiny drop of sauce on your shirt, and suddenly you're convinced every single person in the room is staring at it. That's it. That's the spotlight effect. But in reality, people are way too busy worrying about their own sauce stains. Realizing this can just, poof, get rid of so much unnecessary anxiety. And then there's this one, the anchoring effect. This is a big one. Our brains have this quirky habit of grabbing onto the very first piece of information we get and using it as a reference point for, well, for everything that comes after. It's a favorite little trick of negotiators and salespeople for a very good reason.
So here's how you see it in the wild, and more importantly, how you fight back. Imagine a car salesman throws out a ridiculously high price. That's their anchor. Now, any price he offers after that feels like a great deal, right? The way to win this game is to do your homework before you walk in. Set your own anchor. When you do that, you're not just fighting his number, you're completely reframing the psychology of the entire negotiation. You're in charge.
So once you start spotting these mental traps, what's next? How do you actually start building some real momentum? Well, that brings us to part 2, why systems always beat goals. This is the engine room for serious growth.
Whoa, okay, I know, that sounds pretty harsh, maybe even a little crazy, but stick with me here, because there is a really profound truth hiding behind that statement.
Just think about it for a second. In any sport, any competition, every single person who loses had the exact same goal as the winner, to win. So if everyone has the same goal, the goal itself can't be the thing that makes the difference. The real difference maker is the system, the process, the winner followed day in and day out. So what does one of these winning systems even look like? It's almost deceptively simple. Forget about trying to make some huge earth-shattering leap. The whole secret is to just focus on getting 1% better every single day. The power isn't in the size of the improvement, it's in the relentless consistency. And this is where the magic happens, because those tiny 1% gains, they don't just add up, they compound. Getting 1% better every day for a year doesn't make you 365% better. No, it makes you nearly 38 times better. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the mind-blowing power of a great system. This idea of systems actually leads us to something even deeper, even more powerful. Because a really good system doesn't just change the things you do, it starts to change who you are. And that brings us to section 3, the identity shift. Just look at the difference here. It's subtle, but it is huge. A goal is an outcome. I will run a marathon. But an identity, that's about who you are. I am a runner. See? One is a temporary event. The other is a permanent part of you. And that's exactly why this shift is so important. When you truly believe, I am a runner, you don't have to use up all your willpower forcing yourself to go for a run. You just go, because that's what runners do. The behavior just flows naturally from who you are. The struggle practically disappears. Okay, so you've built your system, you're shifting your identity, but how do you actually do the work? How do you perform at your best to really make it all stick? Well, that takes us to section 4, the biology of deep work. We're talking about the actual science behind elite performance.
Deep work is pretty much what it sounds like, focusing on a really tough task without any distractions. Now, in our crazy notification-filled world, this ability has become super rare. And because it's so rare, it's become incredibly valuable. It's like a modern-day superpower.
And get this, it physically changes your brain. When you focus intensely, you're making specific circuits in your brain fire over and over again. This process actually stimulates the growth of something called myelin. You can think of it like insulation for your brain's wiring. And the result? Your signals get faster, stronger, cleaner. You are literally building a faster brain.
But myelin has an enemy: task switching. Every single time you quickly glance at an email or check your phone, you create something called attention residue. It means a piece of your brain is still stuck thinking about that last thing. This residue makes it impossible to reach that incredible state of peak productivity and focus we call flow. So, building a better brain, a better identity, a better system, these are all amazing internal upgrades. But, we don't live in a bubble. So for our final section, we're zooming out, because true optimization means mastering how we connect with other people. Welcome to optimizing your social world.
If you boil everything down, what do people really, truly want? It comes down to two profound needs. We all have a deep, driving desire to feel important, and we all want to feel genuinely appreciated. That's it. That's the core of human motivation.
So, the real secret to connecting with people, to influencing them, it's not about manipulation or clever tricks. It's empathy, plain and simple. The second you can stop focusing on what you want and you can sincerely try to see the world from their perspective, that's when everything changes. That's how you connect.
Wow, we've covered a ton of ground. But this whole journey really just starts with one small step. So here's your challenge for today. Super simple. First, just try to spot one of these mind traps in your own thinking. Just notice it. And second, pick one tiny, 1% improvement you can make. What's it going to be?